Hello everyone, good morning. This is Data Pioneer with the Linux Unix Tech Channel, and today I thought what I'd do is go over a distro of Linux that I know very little about, if anything. In fact, I'm not sure if I've ever heard of it even, although it's been around for a few years, about 2014 I believe. And it's called NixOS, and it is a little bit different than your typical Linux distro, so we'll take a look at that with NixOS, and we'll do a system setup and product review right after this. Okay, here we are. We're back, and I'm in my Proxmox hypervisor virtual environment. It's version 9.0.6. I love this Proxmox server I've set up. I've got 2 nodes right now. Don't have a 3-node Proxmox server. I wish I did, but I don't have the hardware for it. But 2 nodes will be fine. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the second node, and I'm going to install the distro of NixOS from an ISO that I downloaded earlier. Actually uploaded it to the Proxmox server as a URL, but in any event, it's located, if I go out to let's see here, the ISO imaging area, and go to ISO images, you can see that it is latest NixOS graphical right there. Alright, so let's go back up to Proxmox 02, or PMOX 02 rather, and let's do a create VM, and to take the next number in the sequence is 116, so I'm going to call this NixOS, and I'm not going to have it start up at boot. I'm not going to do anything else with the shutdown. I am going to tell it to put it in the VM's resource pool. And then I'm going to click next here. And then the storage for ISO imaging is called ISO imaging. And the ISO image, again, I pointed to it earlier, and that is latest NixOS graphical, 64-bit ISO. So we were using the CD, DVD, disk, image file concept here. If you've never used Proxmox server before, it's really wonderful. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes down below if you're interested and you want to spin up a Proxmox VE server and use it for the purposes that I'm using it for, which is the system setup and product review here today of NixOS. So let's click next. And this looks okay here. I could install the QEMU agent. The QEMU agent, if you're not familiar with that allows me and the Proxmox server here in the summary on this node to view the IP address and other things relevant to the NixOS VM. So I'm not going to worry about it. This is just a virtual machine. I'll tear it down after this is over. So let's click next. For the disks here, I'm going to select not a SCSI but a SATA drive, and 32 gigs is plenty. I'm going to emulate an SSD. I'll click that box there, and don't want anything else to do here, so I'm going to go ahead and click next. For CPU, I'm going to give this virtual machine, I've got many cores, so I'm going to give it at least 3. And let's click next, and then for memory I'm going to give it 6,000 megabytes, which is roughly 6 gigabytes, but I'll go ahead and put in 6,000 megabytes. Click next. For network, I'm going to put in here the bridge, which is the VMBR0, which is the bridge for the data center here in Proxmox. I'll leave it at that, and I'll go ahead and click next. And so here's a summary of what we've done here. Everything looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and click finish. and let it go ahead and go out and create that virtual machine. So it's creating it now, as you can see. Doesn't take very long, and there it is. So NixOS virtual machine is ready to spin up, and so I'm going to go ahead and select it, and go ahead and click the start now, and I'm going to bring this up to a little bit higher resolution. I'm going to go ahead and select the default. Well, I have to go ahead and bump it up again. There we go. Let me get rid of this. Yeah, it may not stay at this resolution, but I wanted to get it a little higher, so that we can see, you can see in the audience what we're doing here. So it's booting up for the first time in NixOS prior to installation. NixOS, by the way, is an independent distro, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it is out of, wanted to say Germany, but I don't think it's Germany. I think it's the Netherlands. It's out of the Netherlands. And okay, so it says welcome to the NixOS installer. And so I'm going to leave this resolution the way it is now, but I'll bump it up to 1920 by 1080 when we do the install. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click next here. This is the Calamarius installer. You should be familiar with it. So let's click next. New York is my time zone. If it's not yours, you can select whatever you want. I'm going to click next. And English keyboard is fine, so I'm going to click next. Full name, I'm going to put that in. And what name do I want to use to log in? Data Pioneer, of course. Password, I'll go ahead and put that in for the user. Alright, and I'm going to use the same password as the administrator account password. Like I said, this is a VM. I'm going to tear it up after this anyway. Doesn't really matter. Just for the brevity of the video, I'll just go ahead and select that. Click next. Now I am going to select the Plasma desktop environment. You can select whatever you want. You got a fairly good choice here. Cinnamon, Pantheon, Enlightenment, Budgie, Deepen, GNOME. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. I do not want to allow unfree software. That's your choice if you do want to allow that. I'll click next. For the sake of this video, rather than manual partitioning, which is what I normally do, I'm just going to go ahead and select erase disk and no swap, and just do a one whole disk partitioning. Select next, and we should be ready to go. It's partially hidden down here at the bottom, but I'm going to click install, and it's off to the races. Now this is going to take a little while, probably about 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and while it's installing the NixOS operating system, I'll go ahead and shut down this video and bring it back up once that particular procedure has completed. Okay, so the installation process is completed. It took about 7 minutes, and it says it's all done. So I'm going to click the box here, restart now, and click done, and let it restart. And this concludes the system setup portion of the video, and now we're getting ready to move into the product review portion. Alright, so it's booted up. I went ahead and click NixOS, hit the enter key, and it's going to boot up. It's in the boot up process right now, and when it comes out, we should be presented with a login screen, hopefully. Like I said, I've never used NixOS, and so this is going to be a first time look through. And so it should go past this screen and go to a login screen, hopefully. Not hang on this particular screen. There we go. Alright, here we are. So it's we're at the login screen. Let me go ahead and put in the password and make sure it's It's a virtual machine, so I'll make sure it's clicked in there. And boot in, or log in. And this is a Plasma, I believe probably Plasma 6, if I had to guess. Which is the latest Plasma version. Alright, so here we are. We're at the desktop now. We'll give it a few seconds here to settle down, and then we'll take a look at NixOS. Now, you can change the desktop, obviously, just like any other distro of Linux. If I right-click, do desktop in wallpaper, it should give me a list of wallpapers I can choose from, and here's a good one. I'll go ahead and select the By the Water, and select that one, and apply that, and click OK. And so here we are. This is By the Water wallpaper. I would prefer that a little bit over what we had. It's up to you. If you wanted to choose something else differently, that's fine. Let me see if I can bring this up to 1920 by 1080 while we're thinking about it here. Let's go display configuration. Go up here and under resolution, select 1920 by 1080. And some VMs will let you do it, some VMs won't, so we'll just see if this works. Click apply and keep, and sure enough, we are now at 1920 by 1080. Now the virtual machine should remember that, so if I reboot, it should come back up to this 1920 by 1080 resolution. Alright, let's see what we have out of the box. If you come down here to the start menu, which is the application launcher, and select it, see that we have I'll go past all applications and go to development. We have Kate, and under graphics we have GwenView and Ocular. This is for pictures and this is for PDFs. We have a help function. We have the info center and the help center, which is nice for NixOS. Then for internet we have Firefox web browser. It is not my web browser of choice. I would rather have Brave, but for this video I will not install Brave. Or I may install it, but I won't use it. Alright, so for multimedia we have Elisa. I've never used that. It looks like a music player or media player. For Office we have Ocular. I noticed there is no Office Suite, so I will install LibreOffice here in NixOS. It's interesting that NixOS does not come with an Office Suite, or at least, you know, LibreOffice Writer or something. It doesn't have anything at all, so it's pretty much bare bones. For system here, you got several things. You got Crash Process Viewer, Dolphin, the File Manager, iBus Preferences. You got, of course, Info Center, Console, which is the Plasma KDE terminal, and then you've got K-Wallet Manager, Manage Printing, Menu Editor, the NixOS Manual, which is for a first-time user of NixOS is probably going to be something that's critical if you're not familiar with it. And then because as I said at the intro, this is a Linux distro that's a bit different, and I'll explain that in just a moment. System Monitor, and then you've got System Settings, and then you've got Xterm, which is another terminal. And then for utilities here, we have Arc, which is an archival package for compression, decompression. And then you've got Emoji Selector, and of course Kate, we mentioned Kwrite, which is a KDE writer. So that's the only word processing, if you will. It's almost not really word processing. I think Kwrite's pretty much like, if I'm not mistaken, it's like Notepad, but I could be wrong. Maybe it is a word processing package. I've never used it. And then Spectacle, which is a screen capture software package. I use Flameshot. I don't use Spectacle. So I will install Flameshot if I can in NixOS. Alright, so it looks like that's the gamut of what we have available. If we come across here, we've got some things already installed. One thing is the system settings. I click on that, it opens up, and you've got some things that you can do. For theming, you've got Breeze, which is what we're currently on. I'm going to go ahead and select Breeze Dark. I like Breeze Dark. I haven't applied it yet. And then you have this more appearance settings, wallpaper, and global theme. Then you've got an animation speed. It's set at medium right now. That's for anything that's in motion here. We've got slow to instant for the reaction, the performance of the operating system. And then click files and folders. I've got selects them. I do not have open by double clicking is what it's selected at. And then this is select by single clicking. I don't like that. Alright, so and then more behavior settings. You got general behaviors, what it's on right now. I select that. I would need to apply that, so let me just not go there. Now let me go ahead and apply this so that we can get that out of the way. Now for mouse and touchpad, we've got some settings there. Keyboard, got a touch screen. This is not a touch screen capable monitor, so I'm not going to mess with that. Game controller, you've got drawing tablet. You've got sound settings. For this particular VM, I've got that turned off. I don't have it set to a particular sound card. Display and monitor, and we looked at that briefly. Accessibility for people who have hearing issues or sight problems, or any other problem they may have that you need to work with in your Linux operating system to make it easier for you to use. Disks and cameras is the connected devices. Printers for networking, we've got Wi-Fi and internet. Push notifications, remote desktop. Under appearance and style, we have wallpaper, colors and themes, text and fonts. And let's take a look at that real quick. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it at the default here. Let's go back, and under apps and Windows, we have the default applications. So this is our listing of default applications. Firefox is the default web browser, for instance, and we've got email client, other. I don't use email clients in Linux. I use a browser-based email client. Put your phone number in here and other things, multimedia defaults and documents and the usual gamut. All right, and then file associations here. If I select, I'll have to get out of this. File associations. You've got for applications, for audio, for chemical, inode, etc., etc. Let's go back. And then notifications, window management, activities. Under workspace, you've got general behavior, search, security, locking, application permissions, KDE Wallet. I've never used KDE Wallet. Recent files, user feedback, language and time. Got quite a bit under system settings. Region and language, spell check, date and time. Let's see what the date and time is set to. Got an analog clock here. It looks like it's set. The time is correct, so it is set to correct Eastern Daylight Time, which it should because I selected New York as my time zone when I installed. And then you can set it here if you like. For calendar, it is the 8th of September, so that's correct as well. All right, and then about this system, this is a KDE Plasma version. I was correct, 6.3.6. It's the Qt version 6.9.1. KDE Frameworks version 6.14.0. It's got a kernel, pretty recent, 6.12.44 64-bit. It's using Wayland, as the graphics platform, which most Linux distros out of the box are using Wayland these days, and not Xterminal. And then it's got the hardware, but this is a VM, so this is looking at the hardware that that I gave it, and then it's looking at other things which are at the host. And then power management, we got here users, auto start, session, and I believe that's pretty much it. All right, so let's go ahead and close that. And then I think that's where we left off. Let's go over here to the right. You've got the audio volume control. Well, actually, I did skip something. Let's go over here. This is, I believe it's a Dolphin. Yes, Dolphin. This is a file manager. I don't prefer Dolphin. I actually prefer Thunar, but this is what it comes with. NixOS. If you're a Dolphin fan, that's fine. So let's go ahead and close that. Now let's come back over to the right and go past the audio volume control. I have that disabled. Screen brightness, you can control it. It's currently at 100%, but you can turn it down. Most recent device that's been installed in the system, you can click on that and get that if you like. Network, you can do wired or wireless. Right now it's set for wired, which is what my host is using. And then if you come on over, if you click here, it takes you to the calendar. And then to the far right, which is the peek at the desktop, stop peeking at the desktop. All right, so we have only one desktop here, and I don't see how. Usually you can, in the corner, it'll get you to another desktop, but I don't see that. If I right click on the panel, does say you can show alternatives. So let's select that. So it does give the option to do a Windows list, icons only task manager, or an icons and task manager window. So let me click the window list, maybe what we were already looking at, but this is the window list. And so let me go back, and if I right click and well, actually show alternatives here, right click on the start menu. Let's go to the application launcher, and that may be what it was out of the box. It looks very similar, if not identical. And let's go show alternative here. Application dashboard, that should be different. So this is the dashboard. Yeah, so if you select internet, for instance, it'll take you to the internet options, graphics to the graphics options, office, it'll show you those, etc., etc. Like I said, it only has Ocular underneath that particular classification, so category, so not very much to look at. But utilities, for instance, it's got a few more here. All right, so let's go back and get out of this. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Click on it. And that's about all that we have on the desktop here. So what I wanted to mention further, though, is that I mentioned from the beginning that NixOS is a little bit different distro of Linux. And by that I mean it doesn't have the standard or typical package manager like you find in, for instance, Debian or Ubuntu, which has the apt package manager, and then Fedora and CentOS or CentOS or Rocky Linux or Alma have DNF, etc., etc. What it has instead is it has a configuration file that you have to get into and update. And so we'll get into that and look at that next. Okay, so let's go back over to the start menu, click the start menu, and come up, and I'm going to type in here in the search window console to get into the terminal. And so let me right click here, and let me just go ahead and just add this to panel as a widget. And so let's go ahead now and click it and bring it up. And let me bring it up so you can see a little bit better. Let me expand it in size as well. And I'll show you what I mean by the configuration file. Now in NixOS there is a configuration file that does a host of things. And this is the package manager, if you will. It's called the Nix package manager, and NIX. Nix is a programming language, by the way, and so this particular configuration file for NixOS is a bit different than you see in most Linux distros, and it is the Nix package manager that allows you to add, for instance, packages and software to your system, and even update your system, I believe, as well. That particular configuration file is located at etc nixos, and the file name is configuration.nix. Now I'm going to do sudo nano. I think nano is installed hopefully by default, as it is in most Linux distros. I'd be surprised if it is not. And then let's go to etc nixos and configuration.nix. And it's asking, do we trust that you receive the usual lecture on getting in using sudo? So yes, I have. And so let's do the password for sudo. Hopefully I put that in right. No, I didn't type it right. Let's try it again. Alright, so we're in now. Okay, it helps to put in the proper password. So it says edit this configuration file to define what should be installed on your system. Help is available in the configuration.nix man page and in the NixOS manual. I didn't show you the manual, but I did show you that under system, I believe, settings, there was a NixOS manual. I recommend that you go into that setting and actually take that NixOS manual. If you're going to use this operating system, right click on it and send it out to the desktop so you have it available for you. Alright, so let's come down. So configuration and packages, you got imports. Some of this I'm not familiar with. For bootloader, I'm not going to touch this. It looks correct because it's been booting up properly. So we'll leave that alone. Networking. The networking host name is NixOS. If you want to change it to something else, you can certainly do that here. And I'm going to go ahead and change it to -VM. So NixOS-VM. It's the same as if you were modifying or editing the etc host name file in most Linux distros. So that's a way to define your host name. Networking wireless. You can enable wireless equal true, but you'd have to take and come over and do this, and I don't use wireless, so I'm going to leave it grayed out or commented out. That does enable the wireless support via the WPA supplicant if you uncomment that particular feature. Alright, or element. So here's configure the network proxy if you have any. I do not have any, and so let's bypass that. Enable networking. Right now it's networking, it's network manager. If you don't want to use network manager, you can make this equal to false here, and it'll revert to another network manager for Linux, which is typically the default in a lot of distros, which is not network manager. Alright, so set your time zone. Here I've got American New York, which is correct, and I set that in the GUI, or actually in the Calamares installer, so I don't need to change that here. Select the internationalization properties. It's currently set correct for me, which is English US.UTF-8. So I'm going to leave that alone. And then all of this is correct. I don't need to change anything there. Let's come down to enable. If you want to enable X11 windowing system as opposed to Wayland, you can uncomment that and you'll get X11 and as opposed to Wayland. It's up to you. If you've got devices that don't work well with Wayland, you might want to enable that here and move on and save it. Okay, and it makes the comment down below. You can disable this if you are using only the Wayland system. Alright, so services here, xserver.enable is true. I'm going to leave that as it is. Enable the KDE Plasma desktop environment. I'm going to leave that as true. For Display Manager, for Desktop Manager is true as well for both. So I'm using the KDE Plasma Desktop Display Manager and Desktop Manager as well. Configure Keyman in X11. I don't do anything with that, so I'm going to leave that alone. Come on down. If you want to enable cups, which is for printing, you can do that, and it is enabled here. So you can enable cups, not enable cups, but you can utilize cups if you want to set up your printer, if it's not automatically set up by NixOS. I'm not going to fiddle with that because this is just a VM. Let's come on down, enable sound with Pipewire. I could set that to true and enable the sound capability. I'm not going to do that. Let's keep going. And let's come down to the part where this is touchpad. I'm not going to use that. Here for the user, Data Pioneer, I've set him up as a normal user. I'm assuming here if you set this to false, then that would make Data Pioneer an administrator. I'm not absolutely sure of that, but is normal user for me means standard user. Could be wrong, but I think I'm right. Extra groups, so Network Manager and Wheel are the only two groups that Data Pioneer belongs to, other than, of course, the default group. But these are extra groups. So if you have any other extra groups that you want to make your standard user a member of, you can certainly put that in right here. Packages. Alright, so here's the KDE packages with Kate, and that's specific to KDE packages. Now for installing Firefox, these are programs.firefox.enable is true. And then list packages installed in system profile. And so here's where you would list the packages that you would like installed that did not come out of the box. And so it's under the environment .system packages equals with packages stanza here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and uncomment wget because I would like wget to be installed. And so I'll just come to the end of this and hit enter, and then hit 2 spaces. I'm going to put in git as another one that I want installed, and then come down 2 more spaces here. I'm going to put in notepad QQ. This is a notepad software for Linux. Hit enter, double space. I'm going to put in Flameshot. I believe I can just type in Flameshot. Hopefully I can. There is a search feature that you can utilize, I believe, in NixOS to find out exactly what the name that you need to put in here, because it doesn't go specifically with the exact name that you may think the package is identified as. And so you can go out to the search feature and do that. I'll show that here in a moment before we move on. So let me go enter and double click, and I believe another package we wanted was LibreOffice. So I believe LibreOffice is the correct name given to that suite. Double click. So we got wget, git, notepad, QQ, Flameshot, LibreOffice. Kate is already installed out of the box. I don't think I saw htop, so I'm going to put htop in there. Double space here, and let me think if there's any other packages or applications that I want to have installed. I don't want to put too many in here because it'll take longer to install them. but I did want to take a look at some of them after we do save this and then run the command to restore or to rebuild the system. Let's just go with what we have right now, and let me finish this, and then I'll come back, and if we have time, I'll show you the search feature that we'll find out whether this works. Flameshot may not be the exact name I need to put in here, in which case we'll have to go out to the search and take a look at it. Now there is a command line that you can search for a package's name. I do not happen to know what that is, so you might want to go to the manual, your NixOS manual, and take a look at that. I'm sure it's in there. Alright, so let's come on down and make sure we have it all. So we have an extra space. Let me get rid of that space there. I don't think that's critical, but just want to make sure it works. Now this is the SSUID wrappers. I'm not going to mess with that. Enable SSH support. Yes, I do want to do that. So let me come in, uncomment that line so it's equal to true, because I do like to SSH into my VMs if I can. And here you can put in a list of services that you want to have enabled. You can open SSH. Let's open that up. Let's get that going. Open SSH service. And if you have any additional ones, you can put those in here too, if you know what they are. Open ports, I don't think I'm going to need to mess with that, because if I open up the service, it should open up the appropriate port in the firewall. In fact, I'm not even going to enable the firewall here. If I leave it commented out, it's disabled. I do believe. And let's see, come on down. And there, I believe this is the end of it. So the final line here is system.stateversion equals 25.05. If you're running a different version of NixOS, you can put that version number in here. I did install 25.05, so I'm going to leave it the way it is. Alright, and so I do believe, let's come back up and look. I do believe we have everything set up the way we want it. And like I said, it'll tell us if we don't. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do Control X and hit yes and enter. And the command we need to run here to reload this is sudo nixos-rebuild switch. And put in the password, and if everything was correct in the file, it should just start rebuilding the system here. No, looks like there was an error, and so I'm going to need to go up and see. And it says the option enable SSH support does not exist. Let's see if that's the only error we had in the file. It appears to be the only error in the file. So let's go ahead and get back into that file. And so let's do a up arrow and get to that command. Alright, let's come back down. And I'll just disable it for now. I'm not going to mess with it for that service. Let's see here. Keep going. I want to clear the error so we don't have an error and let it rebuild. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and disable this. And not sure why that failed, but I'm not going to worry about it. And so let's do a Control X and just to save the file. And now let's rebuild. Let me clear this out. And let's rebuild that again. I think that's the only error we had. So it's sudo nixos-rebuild switch. Yep, now it's building the system. It's going to go and install all of the applications. Now, if you had packages you also wanted to have installed, you could do that as well. Not just applications. You can put in your packages here, dependencies or whatever you want to put in. Now, the other thing about NixOS, my understanding is that the packages that we are installing here, we have an error, LibreOffice, undefined variable. So apparently LibreOffice is not the correct name that we need to use, and let's just make sure that looks like the rest of them, Flameshot and HTOP, are okay. So let's going up. I don't see any other errors, but LibreOffice is not the correct name. Okay, so we're going to have to go out to search for this package, and so let's pull up the web browser. And we didn't do that initially. We should have. So let's click here, click on Firefox, and open up the web browser. And while we're in here, let me real quick, let's see what version we have. Help and about Firefox. It looks like that we are 142.0.164 bits, so it's a relatively new version of Firefox browser. All right, so let's go to https nixos.org. I believe that's the website. Here it is. Let's come down the page, and I believe, yeah, so here we can choose from over 120,000 packages. So let's click that, and I believe it's that right there. Yeah, and so search for packages. Let's search for LibreOffice, and click search over here. That's going to take us to this page, and so let's come down looking for the entire suite. Here it is. Click on LibreOffice, and what you need to do is come over to the NixOS configuration and click that, and then it tells you the name of the actual package that you need, which is packages.libreoffice. Alright, so let's go ahead and minimize the browser, come back here, and get back into the file. And so this, you see what I mean by a little bit different package management setup with this file that you got to work with. For some people it might be cumbersome, but you know, it's just a matter of getting used to. So let's come on down. Alright, so packages pkes.libreoffice. So I believe that's the only thing we have to concern ourselves with. We'll try it once more. Control X, yes, and save the file, and then let's rebuild it again, and let's see if it builds this time. Nope, we have another error. And it's actually pointing to packages.lib. Oh, I misspelled LibreOffice. My bad. Let's do it again. Take a look at it a little closer in the future. Let's come down. It's going to say we searched for that particular package, so it should be correct. Packages.libreoffice, not LibreOffice. Okay, LibreOffice. All right, I think we're okay now. And let's try it again. See if we can get success this time. Looks like it might be more promising. Yeah, it's building it this time. So, okay, so it's now building the system with the packages that we identified. And NixOS sets up these packages as basically virtual machines. So they're all independent of one another, so they don't touch each other. So if one of the packages that you are running in NixOS crashes, it's not going to take the system down, which is a little bit different than other Linux distros as well. So I'm not quite sure if it's the same as an exact virtual machine, but it's sandboxed for sure. And so that's what's happening right now, and it's using the Nix programming language to do this. And this is required for every package you install that doesn't come out of the box. So it's not out of the box experience, then you need to do it this way. And if you want to uninstall a package, you just go back to this configuration file, you edit the file, and you remove or you comment out the particular package. So for instance, if I wanted to remove the LibreOffice suite, all I got to do is go back to this configuration file and edit it with Nano and comment out the line that says packages.libreoffice and rebuild the system again with that command, sudo nixos-rebuild switch, and it'll be removed. So it's kind of unique. I've never seen an operating system or Linux distro quite like this one. And some people may prefer it. Actually, after using this for a while, I probably could use this as a daily driver, but some of you folks may not, so it's up to you. Alright, so let's get out of this and let's go back to the system now and see if we did get that install completed. So let's click on the start menu and let's go up, for instance, to internet, and we should see saw Firefox. We didn't install any other browser, I'm sorry. What else did we install? Office. And there's the entire Office suite, for instance. As you can see, you got Office Writer and Impress and Calc, which is equivalent to Excel. Alright, and then for development, I think Notepad QQ, let's click on that. So this is a Notepad application that we installed, and there it is. Okay, so Notepad QQ is currently installed, and so let me go ahead and bring up, while we're at it here, let's bring up for Office, LibreOffice Writer. I want to add that actually to the panel, and now let me select it, bring it up. This is a pretty stable operating system. I'm impressed with it. It's performing really well. I did give it 6 gigs of RAM and then 3 CPU cores, but still it's responding quite well as a VM even. Alright, so close that. And so we have, let's check the version we have here about LibreOffice. It looks like it's a community edition version 24.8.7.2. So that's a fairly recent version of LibreOffice. So I'm pretty impressed. Let's go ahead and close that. Okay, so this video has gone on quite a while. It's over 40 minutes right now, I think. So I've gone over. So let me go ahead and shorten the video and just close it at this point. I think we've looked at enough of NixOS to give you a taste or a flavor of what it's like, what it is required to install packages and update the system. I don't think we did the update of the system, but you can get in and take a look at that yourself and update the system. But anyway, this has been Data Pioneer for the Linux Unix Tech Channel, taking a look at NixOS and this system setup and product review today. And so if you like what you saw, go ahead and click that like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and subscribe. It'll help my subscribership and popularity of the website. So again, Data Pioneer with the Linux Unix Tech Channel. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye-bye.